Ladies and gentlemen.
Pause. My finger slipped. All right.
That's terrible. That could be. Hey, is it already recording?
Yes. The
okay.
video's going. Yeah.
This could be some background.
The YouTube exclusive. Yeah.
YouTube
All right. In 3, 2. I'm not gonna slip my finger this time.
You gonna make me laugh.
And 1, go.
Ladies and gentlemen, good people of the conversation, welcome back to raw, honest, relevant discussion from a young adult perspective. I'm Josh.
And I am Elijah.
And today we want to say you're welcome in advance. Because you are in for a treat. So
they are.
Before you even say thank you, it's okay. You're welcome. Here today we have an exclusive guest, a major guest with us on the conversation. He is an author, he is a husband, he is a father, he is an evangelist, a teacher, a speaker, a man of faith, a leader. He is our pastor, Bishop Howard Tillman. Welcome to the conversation, Pastor.
Thank you for allowing me to be with Josh and Elijah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's an honor to be here.
It is. I tell you, this is kind of, I don't know, there's no words because
He nervous.
This is someone that we have literally looked up to for all of our lives.
Yes.
Like since we were kids. Like I know for me especially, like Bishop was like. He was that guy, He was very revolutionary in a lot of things that he did with regards to the young people and going out and helping them develop a relationship with the Lord, So to me, it's definitely like people would act like this if they met like Drake or LeBron or President Obama. Act like this because the bishop is here because the influence and the impact he's made is just overwhelming. But Bishop, we do a couple cool things here at the show.
Okay.
And one of them is it's maybe sometimes controversial in what it is, but it is a hot take. Don't get too nervous. It's just I say controversial, and I know it's just but it's kind of our quick opinion on something, and I think we have the perfect topic. So last season, me and Josh did a whole episode dedicated to music. And as you all may or may not know, Bishop is a big fan of music, actually a great musical artist, if I do say so myself.
Oh, no.
A musical artist.
I mean, Tetrick.
Okay.
Tetrick.
Yes. What is Tetrick for our listeners at home who don't know?
The end time revival evangelistic crusade.
There you go.
That was a choir name. And listen, when I tell you they got some hits on YouTube,
bangers.
They got some hits. But and so with you having that experience in music and just leading that conversation, we wanted to know, in your opinion, who are some of the greatest gospel music artists of all time?
Of all time?
Of all time, dead or alive.
Whoa! Oh, wow.
Because there's some legends.
I think in my time it would have been the Hawkins.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think the Hawkins changed the genre of music. They went into a new style. It was totally unique. And it moved away from the James Cleveland kind of presentation to a more message and music that was more relative to our generation. So I think they were world changers. I'll put it like that when it comes to music. Andre Crouch,
of course,
I think would have been one.
Okay.
In my day of all time, gosh, the Winans.
Okay.
Donald Lawrence.
Yes.
Okay.
Richard Smallwood. I
name dropping right now.
Well, those are the ones that I think were unique and diverse in their presentation.
Yeah.
And that's what I like.
Yeah. So are the Clark sisters not on your list?
Well, yes, they are. I'm glad you said that.
I was gonna say because
I'm glad you. I missed that.
I forgot the Clark sisters, and they came at me.
They were. I had a friend years ago. We go to his house for lunch, and in fact, add to that Mattie Moss Clark.
Yes, yes.
This was her mother.
It's
her mother.
Yeah.
So every afternoon we'd go to his house. We'd eat lunch. He'd turn on Mattie Moss Clark and the South. I think it was the Southwest Michigan State Choir.
Oh, wow.
He would turn that on, and then I don't think at that time the Clark sisters were big. At that time, I think it was just their mother.
Yeah.
And they came along afterward, but I would add Mattie Moss Clark to that. I would add the Clark sisters to that as well.
Woo. You can see we haven't even gotten into the heat of the episode yet.
And
We're
he's
already getting knowledge.
I don't know.
Gems.
I feel,
but you know, music to me is the universal language.
Yeah.
And I think individuals need to really understand the value of music and how its lyrics can be beneficial, motivational, inspirational to a broad spectrum of demographics. And I think sometimes we undersell its value.
Yes. I could not agree more.
Yeah.
I could not agree more.
We understand its value, undersell it.
And music transcends time. Music bridges gaps within generations. Music is a tool, just like food, that brings people together, just like sports. But I think the difference between those other mediums I mentioned and music is there's no expiration. If, for instance, say we're debating about the greatest of all time in basketball.
right.
If I never got to see Kareem Abdul-Jabbar play, he's probably not going to be on my list.
Right.
That's a good point.
And by the time we're having children, he's still going to be one of the greatest of all time.
Pause.
But he's not going to be on their list.
Exactly.
Wait, pause on you having kids?
Yeah. We'll just go ahead and stop you right there.
Right.
It's a little bit too much dip on your chip, young fella. Too much
I
dip
said
on
by
your
the
chip.
time, I didn't say it was about to happen.
It's 60 years in advance.
60 years.
Oh, please.
He's going to be like Abraham.
Right. You better hope not.
Right. Do you have any names that you like to add?
I would. Gospel music is a very hard. I don't know how you did that off the top of your head so
Off the
easily. But I think a person for me who like deserves to be on that list, I mean, has to be. It just has to be this individual.
That you're thinking
You
of
just
right now.
what individual?
That you don't
Has to be. I'm in between either Tone/B Slade.
Oh wow.
Woo!
Wow.
No, just go ahead and say Tone.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't because I feel like CC, but you said the Winans.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if you're. Are you
If your
including,
last
like,
name
the
is
Winans
Winans,
brothers or just the entire Winans
we're gonna
family?
include you.
I think seeing that family
Okay.
and the diversity
Yeah.
and how many of them
Yes.
that's unique.
Yes. Okay. So and it's got to go beyond the one-hit wonders.
Yeah.
I know we don't like to say it, but there are plenty of one-hit
Are
wonders
you
in
throwing
gospel
shade?
music.
Are you going to say some names?
I'm not throwing shade.
Okay.
But I'm just saying there are people who did one hit and we wonder where the rest of them were. And it's okay. You know,
But you stopped
Yeah.
with Tone.
Yeah, Tone.
because
or,
I don't know if there's another individual who kind of Yolanda Adams.
Yeah.
I feel or Donnie.
Yeah, Donnie McClurkin.
So-
Just a whole bunch of people that we've mentioned in episodes past.
Yeah. How about you, Josh? Who are on your Mount Rushmore?
I'm gonna list a couple people that we've had here at New Covenant Believers Church that I think deserve a shout out. First of all, Pastor Marvin Sapp. We mentioned him before.
Yeah.
Dietrich
Marvin
Hadd.
Sapp under commissioned or just Marvin
Both.
Sapp as a
Both.
solo?
Both. Does Michael Jackson not deserve accolades for the Jackson 5 and
That's
solo?
different.
Or
That's
Karen
different.
Clark Sheard as a solo artist.
Well, that means you have to bring Fred in there.
Exactly. You got to bring Fred Hammond in there too.
Right.
I think Ty Tribbett, Kirk Franklin. If we're gonna list some,
Okay.
There's no, yeah.
I
that's
don't.
good. That's good.
They don't sing. They can't be on the list if you can't.
Ty
sing.
Tribbett sings.
You direct and you write. You
And
are
guess
the
who else?
Directing
You
and
know
the
who else
writing
directs and
part.
writes? Andre Crouch directs and writes.
But he sings.
So does Ty Tribbett.
No.
He does.
No. He has auto-tune. No disrespect. But
That's disrespectful.
I'm
That's
just
disrespectful.
saying.
There
like,
gonna be some Ty
in
Tribbett
my
fans.
Mount Rushmore, they are heavy singers. And I think one of the things that you pointed out, Bishop, about these individual artists was how they kind of, in a way, led the transition period for the church in a lot of different areas.
But see, that I think you have. I'm glad you mentioned that too. You had to mention Kurt Franklin because he really made a change.
He wrote
did.
us
He did.
into a change.
Yeah, he did.
He
No question.
wrote us and
No question.
directed us.
Absolutely.
Did not sing us. Wrote and directed.
But somebody had to sing.
Exactly.
Okay, I mean, okay.
He found the people.
That was a good run. Pause. Give me my credit. Give me my voice. That was a good
Let him
run.
rewind just a couple seconds. Listen to that again. That was good.
You know, I'm pretty good. Don't put me in the choir though, because that sounds horrible.
You can be in the back. You can be in the back. You have good facial expressions, you know. Yep.
Yeah.
Just mouth the words. Just say watermelon, watermelon, watermelon. Just mouth it. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
But music is not the main point today, Josh.
No, it's not.
It's a subset
Exactly.
of major points.
That we're going to hear today from Bishop. Pastor, today we want to talk to you about leadership. It's no secret that in our society today, we need leaders. And leadership is under scrutiny, whether it's criticism towards the government or a head coach being fired or some kind of scandal, even a pastor under scrutiny. We are seeing time and time again leadership being in the forefront of conversations, normally because of failed leadership or absent leadership. Even if we're talking about absent fathers in the home or some legend that we wish could have lived on but had their life cut tragically short. We know that in today's society, there is a great need for leaders. And that's what we want to talk to you about today. You being an influential leader, both in our lives personally and in our country, in our community, in New Covenant Believers Church. We want to know first and foremost, what would you say leadership is? How would you define leadership?
I would define it as the art of moving a group of people to achieve a common goal. That's one phase of leadership.
Okay.
There's another phase of leadership that I would just call influence. You may not be leading a group of people, but you have the ability to influence them. Sometimes we don't give enough, put enough emphasis on that kind of a person who is just merely somebody who can say, hey, I need you to go over there and talk to 5 people and see if we can't move them to back us on this particular goal. That person has power with those 5 people. Sometimes we don't classify them as leaders, but I do.
Yeah.
Because they have influence.
Yeah.
Leaders have influence. It's a common theme when you deal with leadership, regardless of administrative or if it is somebody who leads a group within the larger group. You still got to think about influence when you talk about leadership.
Man, that's a major nugget one.
Yes.
Because I think oftentimes when you talked about the person who has that influence, we don't really see it like that, unfortunately. Like, we see it as someone who stands out, who's the loudest in the room, who's the boldest in the room, as that individual is only the leader. But oftentimes, leaders don't have to use big, fancy words and stand out. Leaders, as you say, have influence.
Yes,
absolutely.
And I think one of the most powerful lessons I'm learning from your teachings and just listening to you is the fact that your sphere of influence is it's a major point in who you are, and also in the people that you can help lead in their life, just in general.
Right. So when you look at you guys hear me talk about your sphere of influence.
Yeah.
When you talk about your sphere of influence, I always say that you want those individuals to experience what it's like when a person surrenders their life to the reign, the rule, and the government of God. And that plays out in the interaction and in the connection, the interconnection that you have with those individuals. So that makes you a person of influence.
Wow.
And when you're a person of influence, that's what Jesus was. Jesus really helped us to understand. He said, I'm rearing these kind of people. These kind of people come out of me.
Yes.
Yeah.
When he says, let your light so shine.
Yeah.
He's really saying these kind of people come out of me. People of influence come out of me.
Yeah.
They come out of their relationship with me. And I think we have to value that.
Yes.
Because in the end, it is my obligation to mirror his thoughts about me.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I love that you mentioned that a great leader will cause more influential people to come out of them.
Yeah.
Jesus saying that he's the vine. In an episode last week, we were talking about culture and how we influence and shape our culture, because a great leader is not merely someone that amasses a large following, but it's somebody.
Right.
It's someone who will challenge them and shape the way that they think, the way that they live. Jesus was only here on this earth for about 33 years or so.
Right.
But we're still following him thousands of years after his ascension.
Yes.
Because the leadership that he modeled outlived him on the earth. It didn't fade. You might have a great leader in this generation who has a fad, maybe shapes the culture, but that impact that they're making, the statement that they're making, might not last too long after them.
Right.
Yeah.
He might say, oh, this was great for a time being.
Yeah.
This was a great show for a time being.
Yep.
This style was great for a time being, but
Yeah.
is it going to last?
But see, leaders duplicate.
They make
Yeah.
leaders.
They make leaders.
Yeah.
They develop leaders. They're not satisfied alone. They build people who complement and go on to lead. Inspiration and motivation is just a dynamic part of being a leader. I don't think great leaders produce leaders.
Yeah.
And average leaders don't produce great leaders. Mediocre leaders don't produce great leaders. They don't produce leaders, but great leaders produce and reproduce great leaders.
Yeah.
They do that.
Man.
That's the key. And when you think about it, I was thinking about a scripture that kind of connects to that, right?
Okay.
And in Proverbs 29, I believe it is, and 18, it says, where there is no vision,
Oh, the people perish.
the people perish, or they are in chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chaos.
So, but what does it tell you about a leader? A leader is influential. A leader is leadership is the art of motivating, right, to achieve a common goal. Well, if a leader is the person who is motivating you to achieve a group of people to achieve a common goal, vision is absolutely necessary. what do I see? Because it's what I see that becomes the catalyst for the group being motivated to achieve a common goal. If you don't see anything, where are you going to lead me?
Right.
It's got to be something you see. What's your vision? What's your outlook on the future?
Yeah.
You know, what do you want to accomplish? What is that objective? And now you then motivate a group of people to achieve that goal. The beauty of a power of leadership is that, again, there's the common goal. In the 11th chapter of Genesis, right, one of my favorite texts when it comes to this, God sees the Tower of Babel being built.
Yeah.
Right? Always stands out to me. He comes down, he looks at it, and looks at them and said, listen, these people are one, and anything that they imagine to do, they shall be able to accomplish it. The power, watch this, anything that they imagine to do, this people, they have one mind, right? They have set their mind on this. And whatever they imagine to do with that one mind, they shall be able to accomplish
anything.
It.
Wow.
It's the power of focus, the power of vision, the power of being able to see into your future something that you believe you should accomplish.
Yeah.
And if people are joining you in that process, you have to motivate them to participate with you to accomplish this common goal.
Man.
So So leadership must have vision. They gotta have it. I don't care where they are. They got to have it. They got to see what it is that we are trying to accomplish, and then help you see it, and then motivate you to join them in pursuing it.
Man.
Leadership is more than just being, I talk about people that are some leaders, and I may be getting ahead of myself.
No, you're good, Bishop. Go ahead. You're going the right way, Doc.
I talk about leaders all the time, and some leaders like to be in the role of a leader. And they bring nothing to the role. What they want the role to glorify them.
The title.
Yeah, they want the title to glorify them. But a real leader, when that person comes into the role, they bring something to the role that indicates the value of the role. The value of the role is never seen without somebody bringing something and sitting in that role and then showing why this role is necessary.
Yeah. Wow.
Because if they just there just to be seen, why are you here?
Man.
It's all about you.
Uh-huh.
It's not about what is most necessary for the benefit of the people who you're going to touch.
Selah. Selah. A great leader will bring value to the role.
Yeah.
Bring value to the role.
They don't use the title to glorify themselves.
Exactly.
But they bring value to the role. Speaking of that value, do you think our culture, our society today, places the proper value on leadership? If you were to evaluate the state of our world today, the state of the church today, specifically here in the United States, do you think that we make leadership as important as it should be? Do you think we have the same definition of leadership that Christ does?
First of all, I think leaders help people to bring value to leadership.
Okay, got you.
Right? Okay, somebody's in a leadership role, and you're able to see that leader in action. You then really start believing in the power of leadership based on the person who's leading. So leadership is valued many times based on the person in the role.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's
so
good.
so if you think about it, in the yesteryear, the '60s, Martin Luther King was a leader. People started wanting to mirror him as a leader. Leadership causes people to focus on the power of leadership. Now, there's some people that devalue the role because the people in the role have devalued it.
That's real. That's real.
And now leadership loses respect. Not because leadership is not needed, because it's been devalued. When you devalue leadership, people then disrespect leadership. When they disrespect leadership, they lose an important component that's necessary in community and family and wherever else for there to be leadership. Fathers devalue leadership by not producing like a father should produce as a leader. So it can be in any sphere of influence that you have.
Right. Yeah.
That you can begin to devalue something and people start disrespecting, saying, I have lost respect. You watch them. I have lost respect for a preacher. I have lost respect for leaders. They kind of put everybody in the same bushel once they've had a bad experience. That's why it's important. That's why it's important that you understand the value of that. Another example is in the book of Exodus. Yes, in the book of Exodus, and Moses meets Jethro. Jethro meets Moses. And if you notice, when he meets, I think it's the 18th chapter of Genesis, and he meets Moses, and he says to Moses, the work you're doing it's too much. He said, you need to appoint
delegate
some people to this responsibility so the people their needs can be met. But notice what he says. Find men who don't believe in bribes and find men you can trust. So what does that mean? He's emphasizing character, not just skill set. He's emphasizing character because character goes a long way to helping the people trust.
Yeah.
If there is no trust, you can't lead. There has to be trust to lead, and if there has to be trust to lead, there must be character. Character must be a priority attribute. That you are looking for, and that a leader should desire, because it's going to be the means by which they or he or she is successful. So you have to look at that. So leadership is just more than being in a role. That's character part. Seeing, I see, I have character.
I'm trustworthy.
And you're trustworthy. And you can't be bribed.
Man.
because that's what Jethro said to him in our terms. He's really saying you can't be bribed. You're not mesmerized by money.
Right.
You know why he said that? You got to be there for the people. That's what Jesus said. Jesus said to the disciples, okay, the greatest of you guys is going to be the one who serves. Imagine that. He said, I need you to lead with a servant mentality.
Yeah.
So you have an audience. You're thinking about serving them as a leader. You're thinking about giving to them something that is going to allow them to be better than where they are, going to another level in their life. You're adding. It's always servitudes add. Servants add to people's lives. They leave you better off than when they came. That's what leaders do. They're not looking for you to give to them.
Right.
They get pleasure out of giving to you. That's real leadership. That's real leadership. There's humility.
Yes. Yes.
You know, because now
servitude.
you're saying, I'm serving you. I don't care about you serving me. But you know what? Take a person who initiates a great business, Apple. You know,
Yes.
my wonderful phone, right?
A wonderful phone. A
Right.
holy phone. He needs deliverance.
So
Oh, how the saints have fallen from
so if you think about that, you produce a good product, and people buy it. So you're producing a good product for them.
Yeah.
When you serve them, they serve you,
Well,
right? And that's the key. Because if you're always thinking about what you're going to get out of them instead of what you're going to give them, you're going to take advantage of them,
Yes.
and you will not have long-term customers.
Wow.
You will not have long-term customers. If you're going to have long-term customers, you have to do what? You have to give. There has to be the thought foremost on your mind. I'm giving to them. I'm not worried about receiving.
Right.
Because if I give to them a good product, guess what they're going to do?
they're gonna serve me.
They're
Yeah,
gonna come back.
Yeah.
Go to a good restaurant, and they serve you good food. How many you been to? How many you been to that you went back to?
Oh, sure did.
And you went back to
Sure
why?
did.
Man, it was a great restaurant. They didn't have to tell you to come back.
No.
Did they?
You did it willingly. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a great analogy.
Exactly.
You're tearing us up, Bishop. I just want you to know that. But you're dropping all of this knowledge and all of these great pieces of wisdom, and me from like a history standpoint. I love history. How did you get to these definitions? What, like, I know for one of our episodes, I asked one of our guests, I said, was it a moment? Was it
Conversation.
was it a
Yeah.
conversation, or was it life? For me, it was a hard season that I learned how good God is. You know, so when it comes to your understanding of leadership, you know, how did you get to that answer?
Watching and experiencing. Reading up on leadership, experiencing leadership, and watching leaders. See, I think it is so important. My first experience without actually leading, a man, Bishop by the name Bishop Norman Wagner,
Bishop Wagner.
came to me, and he always said, Brother Tillman, he said like that. Eventually, he called me Howard, but he used to call me Brother Tillman. He said, I just see something in you, right? Because they would come to my pastor's house. My pastor would have these young preachers come and preach revivals. And so I always went to my pastor's house and sat and ate lunch and dinner and would talk to the evangelists that would come in. Bishop Wagner was one of those evangelists. And he got to know me only through Elder Scott, who was my pastor. So he said, I just see something in you. He kept saying that, I see something in you. So he gave me an assignment. We were having a state convention in Dayton, Ohio. And he wanted me to coordinate the convention. Well, I had never coordinated a
So
convention.
this is gonna be the first time.
And there's going to be a lot of people. And so what he did, I need you to do this, 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 and this. I need you to talk to these people and this person, da, da, da. I need you to kind of nurture me and help me along. But one thing about, here's the other thing. I respected him as a leader. So when my respect for him made it difficult for me to turn his request down, even though inside of me I'm saying, why is he choosing me to do this? But I always say this, up and coming leaders who may not be sure, always take opportunities to serve. Because service comes before leadership. And so I accept the task, the assignment. I accept the assignment, coordinate that convention. I probably coordinated another one. I think it was another one we coordinated in Youngstown. That's while he was over the state. And then when he went to the national convention, he took me and wanted me to coordinate conventions for the national convention.
Wow.
Right? Now, while he's doing this, I was a youth leader at the local church. I then became the youth leader of the district with nobody hardly knowing me, but a few people. Then I became leader of the state. Well, I'm coordinating the national convention.
Wow.
At the same time. So all of this to me put me in a place. Now, and I went from that leadership to then, wow, after Bishop Wagner was unable to run anymore, then myself and Bishop Weeks, who became the president, we took over. And I went from vice president ultimately to the international president. That was, and it started with an assignment. It started with somebody seeing something in me that I didn't see in myself. And that's
Just talked about that.
And that's what happens to some of you guys. That I don't know if you see life like that. For us, it was special. To you guys, I don't care. But for us, it was special. It was special for Bishop Wagner to tell me he saw something. And it was special when he gave me an assignment. I don't think young people tend to value that as they should. And I think they need to. When people see things in you and you respect them and they've given you evidence of their leadership, you should respect that. Because not everybody gets that opportunity. And there's a lot of people that could have had the same opportunity I did. He could have gone to some other young men. He came to me. And that led from one thing to another. Then I had a dream about a crusade and started a crusade, and now we're going to Europe, and now we're going to the Bahamas, and now we're going to the West Indies, and now we're starting churches.
My goodness.
Based on Bishop Weeks and his vision at that time, we're starting churches, right? It all started when one man said, "I see something in you." And then the experience happens. Then there's so much I can tell you about leadership. We don't have time to talk about it. But when you talk about leadership, it's just you learn as you go.
Yeah.
You learn what not to do. You learn what to do.
What works, what doesn't
you learn that you did some things wrong. Then you need to clean that up, and you do, because I always wanted to be the best leader that I could be.
Yes.
I always wanted to be the best preacher I could be. So I didn't want to just be the best preacher. I wanted to be the best leader too. I thrived on being the best that I could be. And I think that that's so important, that you take the opportunity to, if you understand your destiny, you bring something to the call that says, I am committed to what I'm destined to be.
Right. Yeah.
You don't shortchange it. You don't devalue it. No, you don't do anything. You put your best foot forward and you make it happen. You're not lazy about it. You're committed to it. And I think that that's where I had tunnel vision. I didn't have 7 visions.
And, this is convicting.
I was tunnel vision. I have 7. I couldn't have become the leader that I am without having tunnel vision. I couldn't be. I knew what I was supposed to do. You know, even when I thought I was going to be an electrical engineer coming out of high school, I really did want to be an engineer. That fell through the cracks. That didn't happen. Then when I started working at the bank, I said, okay, I was going to go to school and I was going to become a bank manager, maybe eventually become vice president at the bank. That didn't happen. The Lord said, this is where I want you. I took all my energy and put it on my destiny.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what you have to do in life. When you are called to be something, you pursue it.
Yes.
When you think you're supposed to be a leader, you put your best foot forward and you make it happen. You just can't just say, well, it's just going to come to you. It doesn't just come to you.
You got to go get it.
It's not about going to get it. It's about you being in the right place to show that, okay, that just being around, just being there. You don't have to make people like you. You don't have to make people pick you. God put something in the person that says, hey.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's why I get frustrated with young people today. They don't tend to respect your pointing them out like I did. It was important to me. Bishop Wagner pointing me out. Wow, that was big.
Yeah, that's an honor.
It's big for me. It's big for me. I don't know if it's big. I think people need, because of social media, they need to say, hey, Bishop so-and-so said this to me, da-da-da. I never even said that anyway. I would never say it on social media. If Bishop Wagner chose me, social media didn't even know. They didn't even need to know about it. I wouldn't care. It wasn't important to them.
Yeah.
It was important to me that he chose me.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they're going to see that.
Yeah.
They're going to see the drive and the discipline
And the
vision.
results.
Yeah. And the fruit that comes from it.
Yes.
And oftentimes in that process, I love that you mentioned it wasn't one that you needed to broadcast. It wasn't something that you needed to flash or market for other people's approval.
Absolutely.
But there was, and I'm sure you can speak on this, seasons of seclusion, places where God was taking you that he wasn't taking other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned also the fact that just as Jethro said to Moses, you can't do it alone. I think that's a fear that many leaders have, because nobody likes being separate from everyone else. No one likes being singled out. People might like being above the crowd, but they want the crowd there. They want the crowd present. And you're 3 for 3 on your references today, Pastor. I've been using my handy Bible.
But that's personality too.
Yeah.
Which we don't want to get into because that's a whole nother subject matter. Because it's like my personality is, I don't need y'all. I'm not saying that.
I know what you're saying, Bishop.
I don't need you all to be my energy. I can be by myself and be energized. Where there's some personalities, they need people to energize them, and I don't. I mean, I don't need that on a daily basis. So it's also about personalities that determine, because your personality can be to your good, and it end up being to your detriment. And that's why you have to know you, because if you don't know you, you can get in the way of your future.
Man, and not even know it.
Yep.
And not even know it.
Yep, because you can see we all have positive areas and we all have growth areas. We need to know what both of them are, because if we don't know, we're going down a road that ultimately we're going to have a train wreck. That's why we got to get to know ourselves.
Yeah. Bishop, In one of our episodes that we did a few weeks back, it was called it was about accountability and that part. And I talked about how, for me, I was thrown into the preaching ring. I'll say it like that.
Okay.
At a very young age, at 13, and I wasn't given like this standard or this level of guidance with coming to that. But then I was placed as a leadership over many different people.
Yes.
And I think oftentimes, and I also kind of want to get your thoughts on this, like, do you think sometimes some leaders are thrown into positions because they fit what people expect a leader to look like? Like with David, when they first went out to find the new king, it was like, no, they've got the best build, they look good, they got that suave hair, they fit it just perfectly, but it wasn't who God had intended for that moment.
That's right.
Do you often, in your years of experience, have you witnessed that? And what do you say to the person who's been thrown into a position that, like, they're like, I mean, I guess I'm built for this, but I just don't feel like it's for me.
I don't. It's hard to respond to that because people are put in positions for various reasons. Sometimes it's charisma that they have. Sometimes they've shown the right character. Sometimes they're thrown in a position because they don't have anybody else to put in the position.
Yeah.
None of those are the right reasons for putting people in leadership. Leadership, John Maxwell said this.
Okay.
He said, before a leader will choose somebody that they're going to work with, like if I was a pastor and I chose you, Elijah, and I said, I want you to take that role. I just, hey, you seem to be, your personality seems to be one that would gravitate people toward you. Okay, I'm doing you a disservice because I should know that being a leader will require more than your having this wonderful personality. John Maxwell said, before a leader works with another person, they should first give them an assignment, not a role, not a position. Give them an assignment and see what they do with the assignment. What they do or don't do with that assignment will determine whether you can further the relationship. So I think we make mistakes out of emergency. We make appointments out of emergency, or we make it because from our outer perspective, we see something. God said, man looketh on the outer appearance. God looketh at the heart. The key is that every person that's put in leadership must understand that once you get in that position, you have to strive to do the best that you can to ensure that that position is filled well and accomplishes all the assignments that are attached to that role. And sometimes I had to learn this on my own. I remember I didn't have my first leadership role at Church of Christ. I didn't know how to plan programs. We met every Monday. So every Monday you got to have a program because you get the same people coming every Monday. They're going to sit there and come and hear the same thing or be a part of the same thing. It didn't work. I remember going back then to a bookstore looking for books on how to program for young people. That will tell you that I was into the role.
Yes.
That I was trying to do everything I could to make sure that I served them. And what I didn't know, I researched it and found out how to know it. Now, with my experience now, I would never appoint somebody to leadership and not be there for them to kind of guide them along the way if they've never been a leader. We don't take time. Here's how we devalue leadership. We don't take time to train, inform individuals what leadership is, so that they will understand totally and completely what they are about ready to embark upon. We want to do things so fast.
Yeah.
And I believe that you've got to train people to be, okay, I can't make you a leader, but I can train you with all the other aspects of leadership to be a great leader.
Yeah.
So the people who are being thrown into positions, they have to say to themselves, be honest with yourself. Sometimes we're not honest because of the people who put us in the role.
Yeah.
And we can't tell them no.
Yeah.
And when you can't tell them no, you just have to live with the burden of frustration.
Man.
And there's nothing like being frustrated trying to fulfill a role that you don't feel you belong.
Right. Or don't even want to be in.
Or don't even want to be in. So that's what you really have to do.
Yeah. Elijah, I remember doing a Bible plan like a year ago. Maybe it was over a year ago. It was sophomore year of college. We did this Bible plan with your aunt called The Best Way to Lead.
Yeah.
And the most convicting statement I heard in that plan that I'm reminded of hearing you speak, Pastor, was the following phrase: a great leader serves out of celebration, not obligation.
That's good.
That burden that you mentioned,
good.
Pastor, is real for people who get thrown into leadership positions and might not feel called to the position, might not feel ready for the position, or might have a vision for something else.
Yeah.
And be sitting on that because they're in this position, but they can't leave it or say no or even reduce their role because they feel obligated to do it.
Yeah.
I have to serve.
Yeah.
I think that is a real challenge for a lot of people who grow up in the church and have this dual identity. One, I have my own personal relationship with Jesus. I love him. I adore him in private. But two, I have to have this public relationship with Jesus because I grew up in the church.
Man.
So now I'm on stage, or I'm behind the camera, or I'm teaching Sunday school, or I'm an usher, or I'm on the praise team, or I'm in the dance ministry. And if I'm being honest with myself, I want to do something else.
Yeah.
Or I'm tired. or I haven't been taking care of myself and stewarding over my own relationship with Jesus. So now I'm on stage singing words that I don't even believe, praying prayers for other people that I'm not even praying for myself, but I have to do it because I feel obligated. The plan said,
that's good.
We'll have to put this on Instagram or something because I forget who authored this plan. But the writer says, because we have a gift given to us by God, this gift being a relationship with God, and then he equips us to lead and to serve. A great leader, out of the abundance of joy that they have, out of the abundance of honor, out of the abundance of excitement, will serve out of celebration. I'm celebrating the gift. And because I'm celebrating the gift, everything that I touch, I do out of an abundance of what God has given me. I'm serving out of the overflow. But if you're serving out of obligation, I'm serving out of what I have. So now I'm taking stuff that really belongs to me, that I need for myself,
and I'm giving it to everybody else.
Yeah.
But you love it. I love what I do.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I think anything that you do, you ought to love. Not higher than God. But you love it because he loved you enough to give it to you. And that's why you love. I love doing what I do. I love dreaming. I love having visions. I love accomplishing things that people said I couldn't accomplish. I love it. It's a challenge, but it's a great challenge because I love doing it. I love doing this like a doctor loves being a doctor. And that's where you have to. That's how you live your life. You don't live your life being half-hearted about what's your destiny. You have to love doing what you do.
Yes.
Man. I'm sorry.
There's a moment for everything.
I'm going to need 10 minutes.
Yes. We're going to take
50,
a brief intermission.
But I'm sorry. I don't know. I have tears a little bit. But I have one more question, Bishop, for you. And it's going to be hard because you've kind of given so many, but what is the best piece of leadership advice you have ever received, or the best piece of leadership advice that you can offer?
Wow. Okay, is this about leadership for people who are leaders?
Or who want to become leaders? Think about the people that might be listening or watching right now that are in our age group.
Yeah. I first of all, I tend to think leadership is a called. I think you're called to be leaders. I haven't seen anybody make a leader.
Yeah. You think they're born?
Yes, I would say that. But I also think that they must have the resources to rise to the level of the calling.
Yeah.
And I would say to people is that you have to don't want the position of leadership so that you can advertise who you are, what you're doing on social media. Have a secret conversation with yourself and say to yourself, what in this role, what am I going to bring to the table that will make the people who follow me better? And understand that if you desire to be a leader, start serving now. Don't look at the role of leadership as your service. Serve now.
Yeah.
Help somebody now. Help your pastor now. Whatever he asks for you to do, put yourself at his or her disposal and just do something.
Yeah, right now.
And then everything that gives you the right attitude for the next step.
Yeah.
You know, you don't downplay assignments that have no leadership tag on them. And just accept it that I want to learn how to be a servant.
Yes.
I don't want to be a servant in word. I want to be a servant in deed, and I want to learn how to be a servant. Then as a leader, as you're serving, don't be inhibited by any assignment that's outside of your comfort zone. Don't be intimidated by anything outside your comfort zone. If it is something that you have been asked to do and you want to do it, take on the task, take on the responsibility, because trust me, as a leader, you're going to meet obstacles that are outside your comfort zone.
That's right. It's inevitable.
So you got to prepare for that before you get there. You got to be a thinker. Here, you got to be ready up here to take on anything. And so you learn that as you are in your process of becoming. But don't look at the role of leader as you're learning. Look at before you are a leader. Serve, and then you can take on the role of leadership with the right mindset. That's what I would say.
Because you were first a servant.
Yes. I washed dishes, and back in the day, I washed dishes, ran the sweeper in the church. I did all that. You know, I think that's a part of leadership. It's really learning how to be constituent. If you've never followed,
How can you lead?
how can you lead? Because you don't know what it's like to follow. So if you've always led and never followed, how do you know how I feel?
Right.
Sitting out there, how do you know what it's like? Can you even remember? So yes, all of that is absolutely necessary.
Elijah, you remember the Man Up album, 116 Click?
Yes.
That song that had responsibility. It should have been called Authority.
It should have.
Yeah. If you can't follow, you can never lead. You don't know a thing until you run into the king. Who are follows who they follow when they follow me. A real man bows down to authority. Wow, I just thought of that.
Yeah.
Wow. You have given so much insight today. We want to thank you. As you've been talking, I've been following along with you. For those watching, Bishop Howard Tillman's 3 for 3. Every reference that he gave from Exodus 18, that's when Jethro visits Moses, and he says, "What you're doing is good, but you can't do it alone. It will burden you."
Right.
That's Exodus chapter 18. So there's a nugget about not doing it alone, knowing that you were not made to do it alone. And yes, God will take you through seasons of seclusion, and like Bishop said, his personality is not one that feeds off the energy of others or requires it to focus. But you need community. You need accountability. For Bishop, he had Bishop Weeks. He had Bishop Norman Wagner. Who's the person in your life who sees something in you? Because a great leader produces more great leaders. There will come a day when it's you seeing something in someone else. Bishop said, leaders are born. Leaders are born. Leadership is a call. I wanted to read real quick from Romans chapter 12, where Paul talks about these gifts, these spiritual gifts. He says in verse 3, "For by the grace given to me, I tell everyone among you not to think of himself more highly than he should think," humility. "Instead, think sensibly, as God has distributed a measure of faith to each one. Now as we have many parts in one body and all the parts do not have the same function, in the same way, we who are many are one body in Christ and individually members of one another. According to the grace given to us, we have different gifts. If prophecy, use it according to the proportion of one's faith. If service, use it in service. If teaching, in teaching. If exhorting, in exhortation. Giving with generosity. Leading with diligence. Showing mercy with cheerfulness." Romans 12, verses 3 through 8. So we want to thank you for the wisdom that you shared.
Absolutely.
We can, and this is why we're honored to bring you on to the show today. We can tell in the way that you speak, the wisdom that you've given us. Now other people are being blessed by your gift.
Yeah,
we want
great.
to encourage you and thank you, knowing that the work that you've done is not in vain. Just as you've had leaders that poured into you, now you're pouring into others, including us.
Yeah,
Here
absolutely.
today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, sir,
I knew it was coming.
to the point of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Elijah McCutcheon, and on the show, every episode, as you've known now, because you've been following us for now 2 seasons, we have this thing called the Word of the Day, a segment on the show where Josh defines a vocabulary word that we can use in everyday conversation, and I, or Bishop James, of the 12th District of the Church of God in Christ International Pentecostal Baptist Churches of Budweiser.
Oh, God.
I give a sermon on it. So, Josh, what is the word of the day? So I can wait. And introducing our new best friend. Our new best friend.
Oh, that is crazy.
I'm sorry. I need to pull him up. I'm sorry. He's kind of shy today.
Oh, yes.
Our new best friend. The B3. God bless you. All right, Josh.
We finally got that B3 organ that we wanted last year.
What is this? What is the word?
It's a word that you might be familiar with, a word that Bishop used earlier today. The word of the day is charisma.
Really?
Yes, really.
He said charisma. Define that word.
Oh, God.
I chose this word actually because I really was intrigued by the definition on dictionary.com. The first definition says a divinely conferred gift or power. Mm-hmm. But it's the second one, the second and the third one, I'll kind of combine them here. A spiritual power or personal quality that gives an individual influence or authority. The special virtue of an office, function, or position that confers or is thought to confer on the person holding it. In an unusual ability for leadership. An unusual ability for leadership. A spiritual power or personal quality that gives an individual influence or authority over large numbers of people. Charisma. All right, Bishop, would you do the honors of passing the spectacles
Okay.
off to Bishop James?
God bless you. God bless you, sir.
Oh, boy.
Here we go.
B3, where you at?
Don't wreck the house.
Good evening unto you. I think my head got bigger. Our Father's children. My name is Bishop James from the Church of God in Christ of the International Baptist Pentecostal Churches of Budweiser Incorporated. We're so honored to be with you today. When I think of the glory and the magnitude of our Father. And Josh, give me the word one more time.
Charisma.
When I think of the word charisma, the first thing that comes to mind is charismatic. I'm pretty sure those words have no relation.
They do. They have a lot.
Oh, they do. They do. Don't let the enemy lie to you. They do have a lot of correlation.
Yeah.
And it's a unique leadership ability that some of us lack. I'm talking to you in your bonnet, watching right now. I'm talking to you. You lack it. When we spoke earlier, we spoke of a well that every person pours from. Oftentimes, we dig a little bit too deep and give out more than we naturally have. In these moments, I want to encourage you, the leader, to don't dig too deep. Pour from what you have. Don't do too much. Y'all been doing too much. So we need you to not do don't do too much. That's the word. Go with it. Go forth. That's the word. Don't do too much. Don't do too much. God bless you.
Amen. Amen.
Bishop, would you like to...
What a word, huh?
I don't know what that was, but I hope...
If you get a stamp of approval from the great Bishop Howard
I'm going to just go with it.
you on your way.
Would you like to add on to that, Bishop?
You know what? I don't think there's much I can add to that.
Well,
Because if you think about what's it, charisma?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you think about charisma, charismatic, and then in the Greek, they're charis. And charis is the word for grace and favor and kindness. So so grace is given to us to push us beyond our norm into the abnormal and the natural into the supernatural, to engage us in something that we cannot do by ourselves,
Yes.
but need the grace of God to assist us in the process. So that's what charis is. It is God, grace, favor, and kindness working in our behalf to enable us, to empower us, to move us into the next dimension of who we are and how we represent Him.
Yo, Elijah, I think you just got out preached.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with
We
that.
have never in the history of this show had somebody etymologically break down.
Pause. What
etymology,
word?
etymology, like the study of words.
Did you say that correctly?
I'm pretty sure. Shout out to
Oh,
Mrs. Heron,
gosh.
Okay.
my junior English teacher. Break down the word in the Greek.
In the Greek.
Flex on us, why don't you, Bishop?
Well, I'd say this has been a great episode, and again, you're welcome because you got all of this wisdom from an amazing teacher. And listen, if you want to find out more about the great, as we call him, the great Bishop Tillman, you could go online to www.ncbchurch.org.
That's right.
And he has some amazing books out. One of my favorite, actually it's not one, it actually is my favorite, is Kingdom Mind. It is on Amazon right now.
The Kingdom Mind by Bishop Howard Tillman.
Go get it.
Finding treasures in the thoughts of God.
It has some amazing nuggets in there, especially for those who are in ministry. And the good thing is, and I think one of the best things about Bishop, and especially in that book, is you can take the principles from there that he talks about and apply it to every area of leadership that you yourself are gifted and placed into. And so I've enjoyed this conversation today. I hope that you all have enjoyed it. My name is Elijah.
My name is Josh.
My name is Howard Tillman.
And this has been The Conversation with Josh and Elijah. As always, remember, a conversation begins
and ends
with an open ear.
All right. Be blessed.
Take care, y'all.
God bless you.